Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Before we start today's video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. It helps me a lot in the algorithm. In this video, I'll be showing you how to do an ecosphere. Those who don't know what an ecosphere is, it's pretty much a self-sustaining ecosystem that's sealed away in a glass bottle, jar of some sorts. Now keep in mind, I have never done one of these before, but I'm very determined and I have done my research about ecospheres. And it's no different than setting up an aquarium. But do not confuse them with terrariums or planetariums, since those are a lot more complex than what I'm doing. I will be using this glass 1 gallon apple cider bottle. I've been keeping this for a long time since I always wanted to do a project about this. Now, the first problem I was faced with, due to the jar's odd shape and small opening, was how will I be able to plant my aquarium plants into the substrate? As you can see, my tweezers couldn't fit all the way down to the bottom of the bottle. So I had the idea to add more substrate into the jar, so I have a lot more length for my tweezers to work with. But before I even add any substrate into the jar, it needs a good cleaning. It's been sitting outside for a couple of months. Also, the label needs to be removed as well. Taking off the label off the glass took longer than expected, but stickers on glass really don't go together. It's a pain to take it off. But I'm glad I got this end result, but we're not done there. It needs a good rinsing, and as well, it needs to be filled with substrate, which I'm going to use dirt to fill it up. So we'll be going outside and collecting some dirt and rinsing it out. It's been raining for a couple of days, so the dirt became very dense around my fish patio, but nothing that a pickaxe can't cure. I wanted the softer, richer dirt underneath since I won't be adding root tabs to the ecosphere. Now, having all my dirt loosened and ready to use as fertilizer for my ecosphere, I'll be using this green funnel to add in. You don't need one, but it does make the process a lot more faster and easier. Having my ecosphere filled with its fertilization, it's only time to add the substrate, where I'll be using white sand. Before adding the white sand, I made sure the dirt was all nice and leveled. And don't worry about the dirt stuck on the glass jar. That's all going to go away as soon as you add water in. After adding all the sand in, you'll take your little tool like so and start flattening it and making sure it's all leveled out.
Now, here comes the tricky part, adding water to the Ecosphere. I had to use my gravel siphon since I want little resistance against the substrate as possible. It's easy to stir up the substrate with sand and with dirt, coloring the water an ugly brown. The water is discolored, but that's what I expect for the first time. And as you can see, there is a little air pockets escaping the sand, which is completely normal. But I would not recommend that having that in your Ecosphere, especially if you're going to move the substrate to add in plants. While adding water to your Ecosphere, you need to be very patient since you need to redo this process again if you want the most clarity out of your water.
And here is where I messed up, having my siphon disturb the substrate and kicking up the silt back into the water. Now do what I just did. What you want to do is tilt your bottle to the side and make sure all the water is on that one side and drain it from there. Now, having to fix the mistake I just did, I need to refill the Ecosphere back up again and drain it. Now that I corrected my mistake, make sure you guys have a rag underneath your Ecosphere when you are filling it back up, because it can get a little messy, but nothing too serious. Now that's better. Now you can see why patience really pays off. It's way clearer than it was before, and I really love it. Just make sure you guys didn't make the same mistake I did while draining the water. Make sure it's on the side when you do drain it. That's how you get it all in one go. And if you haven't taken the time to subscribe and like, do so now and share this video with a friend. It helps me a lot. Now that the water has settled, it's time to add in the plants. I would not recommend adding any shrimps or fish into there. It's way too small for them. Maybe a couple of snails to keep down the algae, but that's about it. Before adding in any type of plant, you have to make sure you know what kind you want. I recommend ones that are low maintenance and do not require high light, since this is a very low-tech build. But plants that can eat through the water column, or even for the roots, are the best choice for this project. Here are the plants I'll be using. I'll be using Dwarf Sagittarius from my 10-gallon aquarium. This tank is also a low maintenance tank. I only make weekly water changes. The reason I'm using Dwarf Sagittarius, it's very versatile. It's not very finicky about the pH of the water.
and it eats from its roots, which I have a lot of dirt for it to feed off from. Since these are all runners from the mother plants, I do like to cut off the roots just a little bit. That's so they could start rooting down into the substrate instead of making more leaves. But I do not cut off their runners since that's used to store their nutrients and which they could feed off from when they need to. Now that all my snippings are done, it's time to add them into the Ecosphere. Absolute beautiful how it turned out, but I'm not finished yet. I still have to fill it all the way to the top and close it off. There, all done. Now all is left is to seal it up and never open it up again. Wow, it came out really great. I'm quite impressed with it. I will be updating you guys about this and seeing how well it grows. I'm planning for it to grow completely with Dwarf Sagittarius, like a little forest of it. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy, subscribe and like, and have a fish fantastic day.